When Layla's old flame Zaid returned, the first thing he did was make a bet with Kieran. The terms were simple. If Layla chose Zaid over Kieran 9 times, Kieran would have to divorce her and step aside. Kieran agreed. The 9th time came when Layla received a call from Zaid once again. She was ready to leave Kieran stranded this time on the highway. Kieran, something urgent came up. I have to go. Can you get out here and grab a cab home? Without waiting for his reply, ignoring the pouring rain and the fact that his stomach still hurt from an earlier ache, she thrust an umbrella into his hand, her only thought clearly being her rush to get to Zaid. Call me when you get home. Kieran's heart seized as he watched her punch Zaid's address into the GPS. The sports car sped off, leaving him in the slanting rain that soaked the hem of his clothes. Within seconds, the biting night wind whipped against his face, making Kieran tremble uncontrollably. He trudged alone through the downpour, his leather shoes rubbing his feet raw until they bled. 5 hours later, he finally reached their villa, clutching his cramping stomach. He collapsed, gasping for breath. Rain blurred his vision, but through the haze he saw Zaid approach holding an umbrella, a smug smile on his face. Hurts, doesn't it? Zaid taunted. Regret making that bet with me now? Did you honestly believe, after all this time, that Layla had developed any real feelings for you? You forgot she's always loved me most. Whatever scraps you thought you had mean nothing when I'm around. Kieran staggered to his feet, his pale face eerily calm. That was the 9th time. You win, as you wished. I'll divorce Layla. He stumbled toward the house. Memories, like the persistent drizzle, washed over him. Kieran and Zaid had been college roommates. Kieran first saw Layla at Zaid's freshman year birthday party. He was instantly captivated by her cool, elegant aura. His heart hammered in his chest that day. Zaid introduced Layla as a childhood friend only to then publicly flaunt his new girlfriend, a campus bad girl known for ditching class and causing trouble. Kieran still remembered the look on Layla's face. Shocked, heartbroken, struggling to maintain her composure. He knew instantly she was in love with Zaid. But Zaid craved excitement. He preferred rebellious girls who'd skip class with him, go street racing, and fool around in bathroom stalls, not a proper, well-bred young woman like Layla. He found her too controlling and eventually, wanting to dump her and having discovered Kieran's feelings, Zaid orchestrated chance meetings and dinners, pushing Layla towards Kieran at every opportunity. Kieran watched Layla go from resisting to feeling humiliated, then numb, and finally compliant. By junior year, just as Zaid had hoped, they were dating. 2 years later, Layla proposed to him. For 3 years their marriage was polite, respectful, bordering on formal, a quiet, peaceful existence. Kieran believed they could grow old together like this, until a month ago. Zaid returned from abroad, met with Kieran, and proposed a bet. Kieran, Zaid had said, I made a mistake. I want Layla back. You two have known each other 9 years, right? Let's make it 9 times. If she chooses me over you 9 times, you lose. You divorce her and give her back to me. Impulsively, Kieran agreed. He needed to know if Zaid still held a place in her heart. And then he watched time after time as Layla dropped everything to run to Zaid's side. The first time, their 3rd anniversary. Knowing her fascination with astronomy, he planned a picnic under the stars to watch a meteor shower. But a text from Zaid sent her rushing back, leaving Kieran alone on the windy hilltop all night. The 2nd time, he needed an emergency appendectomy. She left just before the surgery to help Zaid with some minor company issue and disappeared for a week. Kieran signed his own consent forms and managed his post-op recovery, the pain, the checkups, the meals, alone. The 3rd time, his grandmother's funeral. She left mid-service to have dinner with Zaid. With each abandonment, Kieran's love for her eroded until nothing was left. After all these years, it wasn't just that she still carried a torch for Zaid. She had never gotten over him at all. He had lost utterly and completely, and he accepted defeat. Back inside, he took a hot shower, changed into comfortable pajamas, and went to the kitchen to brew a cup of herbal medicine. Drinking it slowly, Kieran started to feel human again. He retrieved the divorce papers he'd prepared the day they made the bet, signed his name, and pushed them across to Zaid. Take this to her, get her signature. Zaid raised an eyebrow, surprised. Why me? I don't want to waste time explaining why. If it comes from you, she'll sign it without even reading it. Hearing this, Zaid took the papers with a smug look, offering false consolation. Try not to take it too hard. Give it a few days. I'll set you up with someone gorgeous. Sure. Zaid looked surprised at his easy agreement. You agreed just like that? Over Layla already. Kieran gave a small, bitter laugh. I've only ever loved one person like that, given them everything. And look where it got me. I gave her 9 chances, 9 opportunities to choose me, and she threw every single one away. I'd be pathetic if I didn't let go now. From now on, I live for myself. Just as he finished speaking, the door opened. Layla walked in, stopping short when she saw Zaid. Zaid, didn't I just take you to the urgent care? What are you doing here? Zaid didn't explain his sprained ankle was faked. He just smiled, picked up the papers, and walked over to her. Came to see you. Here, sign this, Layla. Her eyes fixed on Zaid. Layla signed where he indicated without even glancing at the document. Only after signing did she ask, what is this? Zaid was about to tell her, but an idea struck him. It's a special gift Kieran and I arranged. You'll find out what it is in a month. Don't worry, he added with a grin. You're going to love the surprise. Intrigued, Layla was about to take a closer look, but Zaid handed the agreement to Kieran first and stood up to leave. Well then, I'll head back first. Good night. Layla's curiosity vanished instantly. She immediately offered to drive him home. Zaid shook his head, glancing ambiguously at Kieran. No need. Why don't you stay with Kieran? There isn't much time left anyway. Not much time left for what? Layla frowned, wanting to ask, but he had already pushed the door open. She instinctively grabbed her car keys, calling back as she followed him out. Kieran, I'm just going to see Zaid off. I'll be right back. The door slammed shut. From the moment she arrived until she left, Layla hadn't spared Kieran a single glance. Used to it, Kieran didn't feel hurt. He put the agreement away and went back to his room. After turning off the light, he slowly drifted off to sleep. Half an hour later, there was a noise at the door, and moments later the light flickered on. Kieran groggily opened his eyes to see Layla opening a drawer and placing several boxes of condoms inside. Then she slipped into his arms, her warm breath tickling his ear. Didn't you used to wait up for me every night? How come you want to sleep so early today? That was before, Kieran thought silently. It won't happen again. He offered a casual excuse. My stomach's acting up. I don't feel well. Remembering how she'd left him stranded on the highway, Layla felt a pang of guilt. Sorry, I forgot. Even if you had remembered, would you not have left me? His question left Layla speechless. The room fell silent for a long moment before she explained softly. I'm sorry, Kieran. Zaid sprained his ankle. He's been terrified of pain since he was little. That's why I was in such a rush. I promise you, it absolutely won't happen a second time. But this was already the 9th time. A self-deprecating smile flickered in Kieran's eyes. I'm sure there won't be a next time. After all, they were about to get divorced. The next day, Kieran woke up to find a glass of warm water on the nightstand. Layla walked in carrying a breakfast tray. Kieran, drink the water, then come have breakfast before Zaid returns. Kieran had seen this kind of scene every day. Back then he'd mistaken it for love, which was why he'd made that bet with Zaid. In the end, he'd lost spectacularly. This time, Kieran didn't agree as usual. Instead, he got up and took clothes out of a closet. No thanks, I don't have much of an appetite. I have to go out later anyway. You eat it. After washing up, he grabbed his bag and was about to leave when Layla picked up her coat, saying she'd drive him. Kieran couldn't refuse her, so he agreed. As soon as he got in the car, he noticed the good luck charm he'd hung from a mirror had been replaced with a flashy car pendant, and the knickknacks on the dashboard were now a row of one-piece figurines. Layla noticed him looking and quickly explained. Yesterday, I parked on the street and forgot to close the window. The old decorations got soaked. My assistant replaced them when they cleaned the car. Her assistant. Kieran remembered Zaid loved these kind of figurines. He had a whole room full of anime figures at home. He didn't call her out, merely asking, what about my good luck charm? I made a special trip to Wuja Mountain for that. Layla's expression froze for a second. The assistant threw it out. I'll have him find it right away. Hearing her continue the lie, Kieran just felt tired. If it's thrown out, then forget it. I don't want it anymore. She looked surprised. Really? You don't want it? Kieran nodded slightly. I don't want it. The charm, this marriage, her. He didn't want any of it anymore. After arriving at the club, Kieran went straight to private room. The room was already full. His old university classmates greeted him as he came in. Kieran, you came alone? Didn't bring the wife? Is Layla busy with work? Before he could answer, Zaid, sitting in the middle of the group, casually interjected. She has a meeting this morning that won't finish until. Then she has to discuss a partnership this afternoon. Definitely no time. Hearing how clearly he knew Layla's schedule, everyone started teasing good-naturedly. Wow, childhood sweethearts really know each other best, huh? Got her schedule down pat. Zaid raised his glass, swirling the liquid, a faint smile on his lips. Not exactly. Layla actually brought it up herself when she drove me home late last night. You two are still so close, huh? Someone remarked. Figures, growing up together like that. Good thing Kieran's so understanding. He knows the whole history between Layla and Zaid and doesn't mind at all. Anyone else knowing how Layla used to follow Zaid around all the time would be insanely jealous. Well, Kieran's married to the Co now. Happy family, great marriage, another person chimed in. Besides, Zaid's the one who set him and Layla up. Why would he be jealous? And let's be real, if Zaid wanted to be with Layla, they would have gotten together ages ago. Everyone knows Layla only listens to Zaid. She's completely devoted to him. Hearing this, Zaid looked even more pleased with himself. Yeah, it's kind of funny actually, Zaid said. Back then I told her to go after Kieran, and she did. Even the proposal, I had to push her before she thought about making it official with Kieran. Anyone who knew them thought they were dating, but anyone who didn't might have thought I forced her into it. Kieran heard this, and his heart lurched. He had always thought Layla proposed willingly, moved by his devotion. Was it possible that even their marriage only happened because Zaid orchestrated it? Suddenly his chest felt tight, like he couldn't breathe. The conversation continued around him, but he couldn't take it anymore. He stood up and went to the restroom. After composing himself, he returned to find everyone had started a game. Zaid had just lost a round and drew a truth card. Name the person who pursued you the longest in your life and give examples. Someone read the card aloud. As the words were spoken, Kieran's eyelashes fluttered and he looked away. Zaid smiled, reminiscing, and began slowly. Well, this girl started chasing me when she was 7. It must be almost 20 years now. When she was barely a teenager, she gave me her family heirloom, something only meant for sons-in-law, swearing she'd only ever love me. Every time she found out I was dating someone, she'd drink herself sick for days, really messed up her stomach. Oh, and when I was studying abroad these past few years, she'd fly over every single week bringing me my favorite pastries and snacks, just spending time with me, no matter the cost. Listening to each detail, a storm brewed inside Kieran. He remembered when he and Layla got married. Layla's mother asked her to give him the family heirloom. Layla had claimed she'd lost it. He remembered how she'd often come home drunk, saying it was from work parties or networking events. He'd foolishly made her hangover soup every time. He remembered how she always had business trips during important holidays. He'd help her pack, putting lots of pastries and snacks in her suitcase. While he had poured his whole heart into their relationship, she was still chasing after the unattainable moon of her affections, unwilling to let go, and he'd been completely oblivious. His heart ached so much he could barely breathe. Meanwhile, the others in the room were sighing with amazement after hearing Zaid's story, eagerly asking, Zaid, who is she? Do we know her? She's so devoted to you. You must have been moved by her, right? If you two ever get together, you have to introduce us. Zaid glanced at Kieran with an unreadable smirk and replied laughingly, Sure, I'll bring her next month and introduce you all. Just as he finished speaking, Layla pushed open the private room door, smiling. Introduce who? Why wait until next month, Zaid? Are you done here? Weren't we supposed to go to the concert? The moment her eyes landed on Kieran, her voice trailed off, a flicker of surprise and panic in her eyes. Kieran, what are you doing here? Kieran remembered Layla dropping him off at the mall that morning, saying she had to work late until dawn and that he shouldn't wait up for her. So, working late meant going to the concert with Zaid. He gave a silent, humorless smile, meeting her gaze. As you can see, I'm at a college reunion. She nodded quickly several times, immediately changing the subject. Oh, perfect. I'll take you home then. Kieran pulled out his phone to call Rule, his voice calm. No need. I'll just get a cab. You two go enjoy the concert. With that, Kieran went downstairs. Just as he reached the street, Zaid caught up and grabbed his hand. Are you mad? Here, take the concert tickets. You two only have a month left anyway. Take the chance to make some memories. Otherwise, when you're old and looking back, you might regret it. Kieran pulled his hand away and stepped back, his expression cold. No thanks. I'll forget the past once the divorce is final. There's nothing worth remembering between her and me. Come on. Even though Layla only got together with you because I pressured her, you did take some burdens off my shoulders. It's bad enough you didn't get her love, but if you don't even have a single good memory from the marriage, wouldn't that make me too cruel? Zaid kept tugging at him, refusing to let him go, all while offering these insincere reassurances. As they struggled, neither noticed the car speeding towards them. It wasn't until the driver frantically honked the horn and they turned to look that they realized it was too late to get out of the way. In that split second of danger, Layla rushed over, grabbed Zaid, and pulled him to safety. But Kieran was struck by the car and thrown 20 meters away, hitting the ground hard. There was a sickening thud. Crimson blood poured from his lips and nose, pooling on the pavement. Every part of his body felt like it was shattering. He convulsed, overcome by spasms of pain. Agony. So much pain. His consciousness faded, but before he blacked out, he saw Layla comforting a terrified Zaid. He didn't know how much time had passed before waves of pain jolted him awake. Opening his eyes again, he found himself in a hospital. The first thing he saw was Layla's face, etched with worry. Kieran, how are you feeling? You've been unconscious for 2 days. Do you know how worried I've been? Kieran looked at her anxious expression, remembered what he'd seen just before losing consciousness, and found it laughable. On the brink of death, he wasn't the one she chose to save. He was lying in a pool of his own blood, and she hadn't even seemed to notice how badly injured he was. She had never truly cared about him. Why would she be worried now? He took a shallow breath and said in a hoarse voice, I'm fine. Go take care of Zaid. Layla paused, assuming he was upset that she hadn't saved him. She quickly explained, Zaid's fine. You were hurt so badly. Of course I have to stay here and take care of you. Kieran shook his head, just said he was tired, and closed his eyes, pretending to rest. Layla didn't disturb him further. She tucked him in, got him some hot water, and ordered a light lunch for him. Then she took a call, said something came up at work, and left, promising to come back tomorrow. When a nurse came by for rounds and saw how well Layla had prepared everything, she remarked how lucky Kieran was to have such a good wife. Kieran didn't say a word. Just as he opened the container of plain congee, his phone buzzed. He opened it to see a message from Zaid. Hey, sorry man. That car really freaked me out. Gave me some trauma, you know? So I messaged Layla. She's having dinner with me right now. Later, she's taking me to the amusement park to blow off steam, and then we've got a movie. You just rest up there at the hospital, okay? Attached was a photo from a well-known health food restaurant in the city, a table laden with light, nutritious dishes. Across the table, only Layla's hands were visible, peeling a large bowl of poached shrimp, Zaid's favorite. Kieran stared quietly at the photos and typed back, just have fun. Over the next week, Layla came to the hospital every day, but she only stayed for about 10 minutes each time. Zaid also messaged regularly, keeping Kieran updated on their activities. She'd go with him to watch the sunset at the beach, gathering shells to spell out their names in the sand. She'd drive him out to the countryside, buying him flowers and balloons to cheer him up like indulging a child. She'd take him for hot air balloon rides over flower fields, snapping thousands of pictures of Zaid with her camera. Everything she did wasn't overtly romantic, yet showed far more care than you'd expect between ordinary friends. It hovered in that space, more than friendship, but not quite love. And these were all things Layla had never done when she was supposedly dating Kieran. The difference between being loved and not being loved was painfully clear. Kieran felt grateful once again that he had agreed to that bet. After the final checkup, the doctor handed Kieran a prescription slip. You're good to go? Have your wife handle the discharge paperwork and pick up your medication. Kieran took the slip, his voice as flat as still water. She's not my wife. We're divorced. The next second, the door swung open. Layla walked in, her face a mask of shock. Divorced? What divorce? Kieran, caught off guard by her sudden appearance, hesitated for a moment. Oh, it's nothing. I was just saying you hadn't been at the hospital the last few days. Seeing his composed expression, Layla didn't read too much into it. I've been tied up with a new project, working a lot of overtime, so I haven't been able to come look after you. Watching her lie so smoothly, Kieran narrowed his eyes slightly. If you're that busy, you don't need to come over. I can manage on my own. He meant it sincerely, but Layla misinterpreted it as anger. It's my fault, she said quickly. Work is mostly wrapped up now. I'll make sure to spend plenty of time with you. With that, she prepared to take him home, even having her assistant deliver a large collection of action figures for him to choose from. Looking at the exquisite limited edition figures, Kieran calmly declined. He'd never liked them. The person who did was someone else entirely. He couldn't believe Layla was being so dismissive, even when trying to cheer him up. Hearing his refusal, Layla quickly instructed someone to arrange for different gifts. All right then, I'll get you something else. What do you like? Watches? Luxury cars? We could buy whatever you want. Surely you'll like something. Her suggestions left Kieran completely unmoved. For 3 years she had showered him with gifts on every anniversary and holiday. These gifts, mostly featuring the same logos and similar styles, crammed their walk-in closet, making it resemble the stockroom of a luxury boutique. He used to believe this was her way of showing she cared, so even though he had no interest in the items, he'd always accepted them graciously. But today, hearing her admit she didn't even know his preferences, he finally understood. She simply couldn't be bothered to put any real thought into it. These expensive gifts were the easy way out. After all, with such high price tags, how could anyone find fault? So this time, Kieran was direct. I don't need any of it. Please don't send me things like this anymore. Don't go to the trouble. Layla had never heard him speak like this before, and a knot of panic tightened in her stomach. You're my husband. Of course I should get you gifts. How could it possibly be trouble? What if I wasn't? How ironic, Layla. You still have no idea you already signed your divorce papers. Over the next few days, Layla stayed home. Kieran gradually began packing his belongings, and used accessories and clothes, the bracelet he'd bought her, the curtains from their home, matching couples' mugs, framed photos of them together. Layla was taken aback to see him sorting through and getting rid of so many things, seemingly on a whim. Just as she was about to ask him about it, a call came in from Zaid. Layla immediately forgot her question, answered the phone, and walked away. Kieran saw the caller ID on the screen. He knew she was leaving to be with Zaid. After watching her walk out the door, he threw everything he had gathered into the trash. He had just finished cleaning up when he received a call from Layla's assistant. Mr. Kieran, you need to come to the Midnight Banquet Club right away. Something's happened to Layla. Hearing the usually composed assistant sound so frantic, Kieran frowned. He hailed a cab, and during the ride looked up the club. It was a place known for street racing. Didn't Layla go to meet Zaid? Why would she suddenly be at a racing club? When he arrived and saw the woman standing across from Layla, Kieran instantly understood. Layla, Zaid's girlfriend from college, the one who loved drinking, smoking, fighting, and racing. He'd heard that even after they broke up, Layla still tried to hook up with Zaid occasionally. It looked like she'd fallen on hard times and was back to clinging to her ex. And the reality wasn't far off from his guess. Layla tossed a racing suit directly in front of Layla. Zaid was never in a good girls like you. He craves adventure, excitement. Since you claim you want to protect him so badly, race me. Loser stays away from Zaid forever. Layla picked up the racing suit, her expression cold. It's a deal. Hearing she was actually going through with a race, her friends crowded around anxiously, trying to talk her out of it. Layla, she's been racing for years. You've never even been on a track. There's no way you can win. Please, don't risk your life like this. Yeah, you're married now. You don't need to go this far for Zaid. If something happened to you, what would Kieran do? But Layla wouldn't listen. She tuned out her friends mentioning Kieran, her gaze fixed intently on Zaid nearby. I won't lose. I can give him the thrill he wants. Hearing her soft but determined words, Kieran's eyes flickered and he unknowingly clenched his fists. A few of her friends spotted him and rushed over, urging him to help talk some sense into Layla, pushing him toward the ready room. Staring at the door right in front of him, Kieran's mind raced. He didn't know anything about racing, but he knew Layla didn't stand a chance racing a professional like this. So recklessly she might not even make it off the track alive. Even though she had decided to move on, he couldn't just stand by and watch her throw her life away. So after a moment's heavy thought, he raised his hand to push the door open. Just then, Zaid came out through the door. Seeing Kieran, a knowing smirk spread across his face. Came to talk Layla out of the race? Don't waste your breath. She won't listen to you. Do you have any idea how much she loves me? Once on a whim, I told her I wanted to run away together. She didn't hesitate for a second, just got on the plane with me. When they dragged her back home, she took the family punishment without ever giving me up. In high school, girls sent me love letters all the time. She'd find them and rip them up, force them to transfer classes, or even drop out. She even got into a massive fight for me, ended up in the hospital covered in blood. To her, you're just the consolation prize, the backup plan. Why would she ever choose your words over me? Staring into Zaid's blatantly boastful eyes, a sharp pain pierced Kieran's heart. She loves you that much, but what about you? If you've chosen to be with her, why aren't you stopping her when you know she'll lose, when you know she could die? Zaid laughed as if Kieran had told the funniest joke, his expression dripping with scorn. Why would I stop her? Isn't it fascinating to watch a woman abandon everything, throw herself headlong into danger, all for you? Since I've decided she's the one, I want her to prove it. Prove she loves me enough to die for me. It's a perfect test, don't you think? Of course you wouldn't understand. Layla would never risk everything like this for you. Each word hit Kieran like a physical blow, sending his heart plummeting, a sickening ache twisting in his gut. Words caught in his throat. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Seeing his expression, Zaid snatched Kieran's phone and dialed Layla's number. Still don't believe me? Fine, I'll prove it again. Call her. Tell her you've been in an accident, that you're in surgery right now. Let's see if she'll drop everything for you. The dialing tone echoed in the hallway. After a moment, the call connected. Kieran, I'm in a meeting. Can it wait until I get back? Before Kieran could even speak, she hung up. Staring at the darkening screen, Kieran's hand, which had been hovering near the phone, fell limply to his side. He lowered his head, a faint resigned smile touching his lips. He whispered, "You win again." On a twisting, winding track, the two race cars fought for the lead, neither giving an inch. Kieran stood in the stands, watching the constantly changing speeds on the monitor. Layla's speed consistently topped the charts, but she couldn't shake Nayla, whose pace fluctuated, fast one moment, relaxed the next. Even a layman could see that Nayla, clearly racing with ease, was deliberately provoking her the whole way. Layla ignored her completely, putting everything she had into it, flooring the gas pedal on the final lap. But even giving it her all, a significant gap still opened up between her car and Nayla's. Then, on every turn, Nayla would deliberately swing wide to the outermost lane, intentionally closing the distance between them again. Seeing this utterly humiliating maneuver, everyone sighed, convinced Layla was bound to lose. Kieran picked up his bag, ready to leave seconds later. Words, a hysterical scream erupted behind him. He turned at the sound just in time to see Layla's black car on the final turn ramming into Nayla's car like a madwoman. In an instant, the white sports car, trying to avoid the collision, had to wrench the steering wheel, veering off the track. Layla seized the opportunity, rocketing across the finish line. The price she paid was being unable to slow down, crashing straight into the barrier. The entire car flipped sideways, the front end demolished and erupting in flames. Witnessing this, the entire grandstand gasped collectively. No one had expected Layla to be crazy enough to win a race like this. Zaid, who had initially seemed bored, also screamed and ran onto the track. Seeing him appear, Layla, covered in blood, staggered out of the car. Then she led him over to Nayla's car, raised her hand high in a gesture exclusive to the winner. You lost. For the rest of your life, you are never allowed to bother Zaid again. He'd known her for 9 years. She had always been cool and refined, gentle yet firm. This was the first time Kieran had seen Layla so spirited, so fiercely sharp. It was also the last time. Amidst the landslide, the tsunami of cheers, he silently turned and left the venue. This time, he wouldn't hold on to any lingering feelings. In the early hours, Layla still hadn't returned. She just sent a message saying she was going on a business trip for a week. Shortly after, Zaid sent a photo of Layla celebrating with him and a group of friends. Layla said this win felt so good she's taking me abroad to celebrate. Kieran only replied with, "Okay." Taking advantage of this time, he packed his bags and drew up a detailed travel itinerary. Once the plan was complete, he booked a flight back to his hometown. The airline called to confirm his itinerary. He listened carefully, repeating the details. "Yes, the ticket I booked is for a week from now." A ticket? Where are you going? Hearing Layla's voice, Kieran turned to find she had returned some time without him noticing. He avoided her questioning gaze, hung up the phone, and answered truthfully, "Back home to see my parents." Layla nodded, didn't ask further, and took out a beautifully wrapped gift. "Kieran, you mentioned before you didn't want those clothes or designer accessories, so this time I picked out a men's cologne for you. See if you like it." Kieran unwrapped it, gave it a perfunctory sniff, and put it down. "I like it." His flat reaction surprised Layla. She stepped forward, gently pulling him into her arms, her tone laced with concern. "What's wrong with you lately? I was away on business for so long, and you didn't send me a single message. Are you upset about something?" Kieran hadn't thought she'd notice such small things while she was with Zaid, but then he remembered how he used to share every little detail with her, from seeing a flower to hearing some gossip, and she had been bothered by daily messages from someone she didn't like for 3 years. When that person suddenly stopped their routine sharing, any normal person would notice, wouldn't they? Thinking this, he no longer found it strange. Seeing him remain silent, Layla assumed he really was unhappy and stood on her tiptoes to kiss him, but Kieran, completely out of character, pushed her away and turned into the bathroom. "I don't feel well today. Not in the mood. Maybe another time." Watching his retreating back, Layla was slightly stunned. His stomach had been bothering him for a long time. Wasn't it better yet? The next evening, Layla said she had a surprise and took Kieran out. When they arrived at the restaurant, a waiter led them directly to a private room on the top floor. Pushing the door open, they saw the room filled with flowers and candles. Kieran froze. Smiling, Layla pulled out a chair for him. "Kieran, do you like it?" Kieran stared for a few seconds without speaking before silently taking a seat. Layla picked up the menu and ordered a table full of dishes, all his favorites. Once the food arrived, she even peeled shrimp and crab for him, placing them in his bowl. Throughout the evening, she kept the conversation going, even bringing up memories from when they were dating. "Remember when we first got together? You used to walk me to class every day. My professor called on you so often. He even asked me privately what was going on between us." Kieran felt uneasy with her sudden tenderness. "What's gotten into you today? I just noticed you've seemed down lately, so I wanted to cheer you up. And there's another surprise coming soon." As she spoke, she glanced at her watch and then pulled open the curtains. Kieran turned his head just in time to hear a series of loud bangs. Thousands of fireworks shot up, exploding brilliantly in the sky. Watching a heart-shaped bloom in the air, Kieran stood frozen in place. "Did you arrange this?" Before Layla could answer, the door to the room burst open. Zaid barged in with a group of people, someone snapping several photos with a Polaroid camera. "Kieran, are you satisfied with tonight's date? It's a surprise I carefully planned myself." Pretty impressive, right? Hearing Zaid's triumphant tone, Kieran's face, already full of complex emotions, stiffened. He turned his head to look at Layla and asked the question again, his voice trembling this time. "Did you arrange this?" Layla, oblivious to the change in his tone, shook her head slightly and smiled to Zaid. "No, it was Zaid's idea." "Why? What's wrong?" Zaid grinned smugly. "Yeah, I heard Layla stood you up on your wedding anniversary, so I gave her this idea. The restaurant, the flowers, the candles, the food, the fireworks, all my recommendations. Guaranteed to give you an unforgettable night. Oh, by the way, did you get the perfume? Took me ages to pick that one out. Do you like it?" So it had all been arranged by Zaid again. No wonder Layla had been so proactive. In an instant, Kieran flashed back to college, to all the things Zaid had done to push them together. Zaid telling Layla to buy flowers, take him to the amusement park, send him goodnight texts at the same time every day. She'd done it all like a robot. Even her confession of love had sounded stiff and forced. Hearing the surrounding crowd praise Zaid's elaborate arrangements, a profound sense of powerlessness washed over Kieran. Zaid had orchestrated all this just to prove one thing to him. No matter how far back he looked, the beginning, the end, and even the course of his relationship with Layla had never been in his control. From start to finish, it had always been in Zaid's hands. Kieran could only passively accept it, and Layla seemed perfectly happy with it. Seeing Zaid hold court, surrounded by a crowd, Kieran couldn't stand it anymore. He got up and headed downstairs. He'd only made it halfway when Zaid, having caught up, called out to him. "What, not happy? Ending things with such a romantic candlelight dinner must be leaving quite an indelible mark on your life, right? Here, take these photos, a little souvenir. Kieran lowered his eyes to the Polaroids Zaid held out. In the pictures, Layla stood with exploding, heart-shaped fireworks behind her, her arm linked through his, looking quite intimate. But Kieran noticed immediately. Her gaze wasn't on the camera, but fixed in the direction where Zaid had been standing. He didn't take the photos, just looked quietly at the man before him, his voice laced with exhaustion. I've already signed the divorce papers. I was planning on letting you have her. What's the point of doing this? No point. I thought you'd be touched. Since you don't like it, I won't play anymore. Not that there'll be another chance anyway. Zaid turned with a grin, about to leave, when a lamp overhead suddenly came loose. In an instant, the crystal chandelier, weighing dozens of kilograms, plummeted straight towards them. Kieran instinctively raised his arms to shield his head, just as he saw Layla rush over. The heavy fixture crashed down onto Kieran's wrist, shoulder, neck, and back, slamming him to the ground. Involuntary tears streamed down his face, painful groans escaping his throat. Trembling all over, he tried to call for help, only to see Zaid crying, helping up Layla, who was also covered in blood from the impact. Layla, why are you so foolish? Why is it that whenever I'm in danger, you're the first one there to protect me? Why do you insist on staying by my side, impossible to drive away? Why? Because she loves you. Kieran answered silently in his mind. His head grew heavier, his vision blurring. He couldn't hold on any longer and finally lost consciousness. When he woke up again, Kieran saw Zaid. He placed a birthday invitation on the table. 6 days from now is the last day of your and Layla's divorce cooling-off period. It's also Layla's birthday. I plan to confess my feelings to her then. She likes me so much. Giving her a big surprise like this, she'll definitely be thrilled. Layla hit her head, mild concussion. I'll take good care of her these next few days. If you want to spend some more time with her during these last few days, I can have you move to the room next to hers. Kieran closed his eyes, his voice as calm as still water. No need. The person she wants to see most right now is you, and I don't particularly want to see her anymore either. Zaid nodded with understanding, closed the door, and left. During those last few days in hospital, Layla called a few times and sent several messages, but Kieran didn't respond to any of them. On the day he left, he checked out of the hospital and went to get the divorce certificate. Back home, he placed the divorce certificate along with the divorce agreements signed by both of them into a gift box and tied it with a ribbon. He was just about to leave with his luggage when he ran right into Layla returning home. Seeing him with his suitcase, she looked somewhat surprised. Kieran, it's my birthday today. I was just about to take you to the party. Where are you going? Kieran lied coolly. I have to catch a flight back home. My tickets for today. He turned, picked up a gift box on the table. I got you a birthday present. Happy birthday. I have to rush, so I'll head out now. Without waiting for Layla's reaction, he walked out the door, hailed a cab, and went straight to the airport. Watching his hastily departing figure, Layla's eyelids twitched violently. For some reason, her heart pounding with anxiety, her first instinct was to call him back, ask him to change his flight, to at least stay for her birthday party. But she had barely taken a step when Zaid's call came through. Layla, the birthday party's about to start. Why aren't you here yet? This is the party I spent so long preparing for you. I even have a huge gift for you. I can't wait to show you my surprise. After hesitating for a moment, she ultimately drove off. As for the gift box Kieran had given her, she tossed it carelessly onto the car's seat, unopened. Warm, bright lights shone on Zaid, seemingly draping him in a holy glow as a gentle breeze, source unknown, stirred his hair. He gazed into Layla's eyes, his own full of deep emotion, and spoke softly. For so long you've been like the sun of my life, quietly accompanying me, silently watching over me. Every moment with you is like a star studding the sky of my memory. I used to take this warmth for granted, he continued, until this moment. Now I understand that this is the harbor you built for me with your true heart. Layla's mind, however, went blank. Before she could react, Zaid had walked up to her, microphone still in hand. He gently took her hand and went. I've seen countless landscapes, but I found the most beautiful picture in your eyes. I've heard countless words, but I felt the warmest strength in your care. From today on, I don't want you silently following behind me anymore. I want to walk alongside you through every season, seeing every sight. Are you willing to step into every moment of my future? He added, Kieran has divorced you. For all these years, you've chased after me, been there for me no matter what. I know you truly love me. Now, I don't want you chasing me anymore, because I've decided to be with you. Layla, do you love this surprise? This is my birthday gift to you. Be with me. Layla stood frozen, momentarily unresponsive. Seeing her stunned silence, Zaid assumed she was overwhelmed with happiness and gently called her name, prompting a reaction. Layla's mind swirled with questions, but facing the lively crowd in the banquet hall, she couldn't possibly ask them one by one. She had to manage the situation first. Forcing a surprised smile, she said to Zaid, thank you for preparing all of this for me. I'm very touched. Although she hadn't given a clear answer, everyone present knew about Layla's dedication to Zaid over the years. They all assumed they had been together long ago, just unable to make it public because he wasn't divorced. Now that he was immediately announcing it to everyone at such a grand banquet. I knew you'd like it. Zaid was very satisfied with Layla's response. Smiling, he wrapped his arm around her waist and navigated through the mingling crowd, his face bright as if they were a match made in heaven. The crowd erupted in enthusiastic congratulations for Layla, whose years of devoted waiting had finally paid off. Congratulations, Layla, on finding your true love. Congrats, Layla. A happy ending for those truly in love. Making infidelity sound so poetic, no wonder Kieran isn't here. A few murmurs defended Kieran, but they were drowned out by the overwhelming chorus of congratulations. By the time the banquet ended, it was very late. Zaid, delighted, had drunk quite a bit and was tipsy, clinging to Layla's waist, refusing to let go. You have to treat me even better from now on, or I'll leave you. The moonlight she had chased for years had now landed in her heart, tipsily confessing to her. Looking at Zaid beside her, Layla couldn't dwell on anything else. Her mind full of questions was pushed aside. She had to drive Zaid home first. After settling Zaid into bed, it was already very late when she returned to the home she had shared with Kieran. Arriving home, Layla looked at the room shrouded in darkness, and only then remembered Kieran was gone, having returned to his hometown. Layla didn't believe Kieran could really leave her. She knew perfectly well how much Kieran loved her. Just like she had chased Zaid for all these years, Kieran had always chased her. Recalling Kieran giving her a birthday gift just that morning, Layla figured he was just angry and wanted her to coax him. She had indeed neglected him recently because of Zaid. She would make it up to him properly when he came back. With this thought, she called Kieran, completely ignoring the late hour and whether she might disturb him. The phone rang for a long time, but no one answered. Unwilling to give up, Layla tried messaging Kieran, seeing the red exclamation mark on WeChat and the notification message sent but rejected by the recipient. Layla felt a surge of annoyance. Was he avoiding her because he didn't know how to explain himself? Was he actually waiting for her to go find him? Soft light filled the living room as Layla came back in from the garage carrying a gift box. Her fingertips paused on the blue velvet. She ran her fingers over the wrapping paper, unable to guess what was inside. Kieran usually just handed her gift directly. This was the first time he'd wrapped something so beautifully. Thinking about it, Layla felt a flicker of curiosity. Suddenly, her phone vibrated on the coffee table. The name Zaid lighting up the screen felt like a sharp needle piercing the warm, yellow glow of the room. Layla, where did you go? The man's voice on the line was slurred, likely still drunk from the night before. I'm home. What's wrong? Hearing Zaid's voice, Layla stopped trying to open the gift box, unconsciously lowering her own voice. I don't feel well. Why aren't you here with me? Listening to Zaid, Layla let go of the box. Holding the phone, she grabbed her coat with her other hand, slung it over her arm, picked up her car keys, and headed for the door. I'll be right there. Just hang tight. By the time she got to Zaid's place, the sky was already beginning to lighten. Exhausted after spending the night coaxing Zaid to sleep, Layla simply curled up on the sofa in her clothes and fell asleep. When she woke up, it was already afternoon. Zaid, fresh from a shower, walked out of the bathroom to find Layla sitting quietly on the sofa, looking a bit dazed. Still in his pajamas, he sat down next to her and handed her a towel. Layla, dry my hair. Snapping back to reality, Layla took the towel, and gently began drying his hair. When it was mostly dry, she got up, went to the bathroom for the hairdryer, and started blow drying it for him. Zaid, about what you said at the party yesterday, Layla began once his hair was dry, but Zaid cut her off before she could finish. Confessing to you wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. I'm your boyfriend now, Layla, Zaid said suggestively, grabbing her hand and placing it on his abs. Anything you want to do to your boyfriend? No, what I wanted to ask was, when did Kieran and I get divorced, and I can't reach him now? Layla, I thought you'd be ecstatic about us finally being together. Wasn't Kieran just your backup plan for when you were with me? Now that you have me, why are you worrying about someone unimportant? Zaid's tone soured. Hearing Zaid say this, Layla felt a strange unease for some reason. How should I know? He texted me saying you two were divorced. Even showed me the divorce certificate. He said you divorced him because you were desperate to be with me. He didn't even show up for your birthday yesterday, and you're still thinking about him. Divorce certificate? I divorced him? Layla was stunned. She was being told she was divorced just like that, and blamed for it too. It wasn't that she had no feelings for Kieran. After all, for years whenever she felt hurt by Zaid, Kieran had been the one there for her. She had only spent a little more time with Zaid because he'd just returned to the country and didn't know many people. And Kieran wanted a divorce because of that? Seeing the look on Layla's face, Zaid immediately shifted all the blame onto Kieran. He threatened me. Said if I didn't help him, he'd spread rumors in our university alumni group chat that I was a home wrecker, trying to ruin my reputation. He really said that? Layla found it hard to believe that Kieran, usually so gentle with her, so poised and proper with everyone, would do such a thing. You don't believe me? Hearing Layla's reaction, Zaid shot her an annoyed glare and turned his back, pointedly ignoring her. Seeing Zaid sulking back, Layla softened her tone, coaxing gently. No, I believe you. I just never thought he'd treat you like that. Weren't you two roommates in college, good friends? He was never my friend. He's always been jealous of me. If he hadn't told me he liked you and set me up with Nayla, I never would have introduced you to him in the first place. He introduced you to Nayla? Layla was successfully sidetracked by Zaid's redirection. Pleased with his successful manipulation, Zaid spared no effort in tarnishing Kieran's image in Layla's eyes. After all, Kieran and Layla had been together for so many years. Even though Layla had always pursued him, Zaid worried she might still develop different feelings for Kieran, who had always been there for her. Otherwise, why would Layla still be hung up on Kieran after her divorce, even when Zaid confessed his feelings? He absolutely wouldn't allow it. He's the one who introduced Nayla to me in the first place, Zaid lied. Then he pressured me to introduce you to him, trying to force me to set you two up. He threatened to turn Nayla against me and make her break up with me if I didn't. I was so fooled by him back then, I didn't even know my own heart. Sunlight, like golden threads, gently fell upon the colorful land of Yunnan. Though the pain of the divorce still lingered in Kieran's eyes, there was more anticipation for a new life. Fresh from the end of his failed marriage, Kieran set foot on this land full of mystery and tranquility. Arriving first in Kunming, the city known as the City of Eternal Spring welcomed Kieran with its warm sunshine and vibrant flowers. He wandered through the streets and alleys, a gentle breeze tousling his hair, while colorful flowers swayed gracefully by the roadside. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating dappled patterns of light and shadow, making him feel as if he'd stepped into a beautiful painting. At the World Expo Garden, the unique pavilions were a feast for his eyes. In a large greenhouse, rare plants from different regions amazed him with the wonders of nature. In the International Pavilion, cultural features from various countries converged, making him feel as if he had traveled through time and space, experiencing the customs of the world. For so many years, his life had revolved around Layla. He hadn't traveled or relaxed like this in a long time. This divorce was a chance to finally see the beautiful landscapes of his country. His first stop was Yunnan, known as the land south of the clouds. When he was with Layla, he had mentioned many times he wanted to travel, wanted to come to Yunnan to stroll the streets of Dali Old Town and feel the breeze blowing from Arai Lake. But she always said she was too busy, never once agreeing to go. It was only at the class reunion that he learned her busyness was really about freeing up time to go abroad with Zaid. Next, Kieran went to the stone forest. The moment he stepped in, it felt like entering a kingdom of stone. All sorts of stones took on peculiar shapes, some like proud soldiers standing tall, others like dancing fairies, and still others like charmingly naive animals. He wandered through the forest, touching the stones sculpted by time, imagining the stories they held. The guide told the legend of a Shima and a Hei. A hint of longing and emotion showed in Kieran's eyes, as if he could see the determined figures of the young couple resisting feudal forces. Leaving the stone forest, Kieran arrived in Dali. He walked slowly along the flagstone paths of Dali Old Town, the stones clicking crisply underfoot, seeming to whisper ancient tales. The roadside shops were filled with dazzling arrays of colorful scarves and exquisite handicrafts. He began to stroll leisurely, immersing himself in this beautiful world. When he reached the shore of Arai Lake, the distant mountains met the azure water, creating a picturesque scene. Arai Lake was like a giant mirror embedded in the land. The water was crystal clear, sparkling under the sunlight. He rented a bicycle and rode along the lake, the breeze carrying the scent of the water gently brushing his face, making him feel incredibly content. In the distance, the Tsang Mountains stood majestically, their peaks shrouded in mist and clouds, like a fairyland. By the butterfly spring, the water was clear and bright, surrounded by colorful flowers where butterflies danced among the blooms. He closed his eyes, feeling the tranquility and beauty of nature, as if merging with the landscape. Kieran took a deep breath, trying to let the fresh air dispel the gloom in his heart. He really shouldn't have given up so many years of freedom for someone unworthy, cooped up in a house waiting for someone whose heart was full of someone else to finally look his way. He sat quietly on the bench by the lake, gazing blankly at the water's surface. Small boats bobbed gently with the waves before slowly settling into stillness, much like his own restless heart would eventually find its calm. Before he knew it, the sun began to set, painting the horizon with a magnificent tapestry of evening colors. Kieran walked along the shore of Arai Lake. The sand beneath his feet turned golden by the setting sun. His shadow stretched long in the twilight, as if this marked a new chapter destiny was writing for him. Thoughts of Layla and Zaid belonged to the past now, the memories veiled, hazy, and indistinct. Eventually, Kieran arrived in Lijiang Old Town. Sifong Street buzzed with activity, lined with stalls selling all kinds of trinkets and jade ornaments. He strolled along the ancient, charming streets, admiring the exquisite handicrafts and soaking in the rich local culture. Many elderly people, dressed in traditional festive attire, danced joyfully in circles, their faces beaming with happiness. He felt himself drawn into their joy, swaying gently to the rhythm. As night fell, the old town glittered with lights, their shimmering reflections dancing on the small river. He sat in a little tavern by the water, listening to the melodious singing and savoring the local wine, a sense of contentment and peace filling his heart. He hadn't thought about Layla and Zaid in a long time, which felt like a good thing. Feeling a pleasant buzz from the wine, Kieran decided to step outside for a walk to clear his head. As Kieran reached a small courtyard, a light rain suddenly began to fall. Fine raindrops slanted past the dark gray eaves. Just as Kieran leaned against the weathered wooden door frame, alcohol coursed through his veins, blurring the swaying lanterns on the flagstone path into hazy halos of light. He reached out to catch a drop falling from the corner of the roof. The cool touch jolted him, cutting through the lingering warmth of the alcohol. At his fingertips, an orange wall lamp flickered on at the corner. A gate entwined with rose vines stood slightly ajar. Above it, a plaque inscribed with "Listening to Rain Courtyard" in elegant, slender gold script gleamed, washed clean by the rain. Kieran stumbled through the gate. From behind a cluster of hydrangeas came the delicate clink of porcelain. "Kieran, do you need a towel?" A gentle female voice startled him, making him take half a step back. A very beautiful hand reached out towards him beneath the half-rolled bamboo curtain of the covered porch. A woman in a pale moon-white cheongsam reclined in a wicker chair, her pale fingers resting on a celadon tea bowl. The rain-mist air smudged her features like an ink-wash painting, reminding Kieran of the Song dynasty he'd seen in museums, delicate yet fragile. "How do you know my name?" he asked, clutching his damp cashmere shawl. A light breeze stirred his hair as Alice coughed and sat up straighter. Her wrist, slipping from her sleeve, was so thin he could see the faint blue veins beneath the skin. I saw you play the drums at the freshman orientation party when you started university. You were amazing. Her fingertips nervously clutched the edge of her dress. You have such vitality, it makes you hard to forget. Her ears turned slightly pink as she finished speaking. A clap of thunder split the clouds, and only then did Kieran notice how red her ears had become. Rainwater dripped from the wisteria trellis into an ink stone, spreading the undried ink into deep gray ripples against the backdrop of the night. Alice seemed almost like a fox spirit, alluring and captivating. Kieran felt irresistibly drawn to her. He took the towel she offered and followed her into the room. Only when he was sitting inside did Kieran register the awkwardness of the situation. Alone in a room with a complete stranger in a strange city late at night. A slightly awkward silence filled the room, charged with an ambiguous intimacy. Flustered, Kieran randomly started a conversation. Were you also a student at Jing University? Yes, she confirmed. I was in a car accident during my junior year. Since then, I come back here for a while around this time every year to recuperate. Sensing Kieran's unease, Alice found herself talking more than usual to ease his awkwardness. A car accident, Kieran thought. No wonder she has that fragile, beautiful look. Yes, at the time, Alice was pleased by his interest. He didn't remember her, but she had carried him in her heart all these years. She had known when he was dating, when he got engaged, and only stopped following his life after he married. After dropping Kieran off at his place, Alice immediately called her assistant and asked him to find out why Kieran had come to leave Zaid alone. Back in her courtyard room, Alice couldn't fall asleep. She wasn't nearly as calm as she had appeared in front of Kieran earlier. In fact, she had to consciously try to steady her racing heart, afraid its frantic beating might somehow startle him. Her phone chimed with a notification. It was a message from her assistant. Reading it, Alice couldn't help but smile. Found out that a few days ago at Layla's birthday party, her childhood friend announced publicly that she and Mr. Kieran were divorced, and then confessed his feelings for Layla. Need until tomorrow for the full details. He was divorced. This was her chance. It was easily the best news she'd heard recently. Kieran, who hadn't dreamed in a long time, actually had won that night. He dreamed he was back in college, before he met Layla, back when he wasn't the person he was now. He was in a cafeteria line, but he'd lost his meal card and his phone was dead. Just as he was standing there awkwardly, a beautiful hand reached out with a meal card and swiped it for him. The fingers were long and pale, just the type he liked. Kieran had a thing for hands, and seeing such a beautiful one made him freeze for a second. By the time he snapped out of it and turned to thank her, he only saw her back as she walked away. Waking up, Kieran remembered Alice handing him the towel last night. Her hands were beautiful, too. Startled to find himself thinking about a woman he'd just met yesterday, Kieran blushed, trying to shake the stray thoughts from his head. He patted his cheeks in a futile attempt at self-deception. He pushed open the main gate and stepped outside, gazing up at the clear blue sky and inhaling the faint floral scent in the air. He saw it was another beautiful sunny day. Walking along the still quiet streets, he felt a sense of peace fill him. Fancy meeting you here. Seeing Alice approaching and greeting him made Kieran blush again. He'd just been thinking about her this morning. It seemed you really couldn't get someone off your mind once you thought about them. Oh, fancy seeing you too. Out for a walk. As soon as the words left his mouth, Kieran realized how dumb the question sounded. It was too late to take it back, so he just offered an awkward smile. Yeah. Watching Kieran walk away after just a few words, Alice felt a pang of disappointment. The 10th time he saw Alice walking towards him that day, Kieran had to suppress a laugh. 3, 2, 1. Fancy meeting you here. Just as Kieran finished his silent countdown, Alice delivered her line right on cue. It's not really fancy meeting you here anymore, Kieran replied. This is the 10th time we've run into each other today. Alice stood there, momentarily embarrassed. Want to walk together? Seeing Alice looking a bit endearingly flustered, Kieran found it cute. He extended the invitation, relieving her awkwardness. Okay. Alice mentally applauded herself. Mission accomplished. It seemed staying up late researching strategies hadn't been a waste after all. The shy, innocent girl with cute, easily seen through little schemes persona was working quite well. She just had to overcome the embarrassment. As the saying goes, it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. or in her case, her crush. With Alice for company, Kieran had a very pleasant day, making up for the photos he hadn't been able to take over the past few days. And Alice, despite acting as his personal photographer all day, was also very satisfied. She had spent the entire day with the boy she'd had a crush on for years. After Zaid called Layla, crying about how much Kieran had hurt him, Layla, wanting to cheer him up, decided to plan a surprise. She worked overtime for days, getting everything at her company settled so she could clear her schedule for a whole month to travel with Zaid. Zaid was thrilled when he heard the news and invited Layla over for dinner at his place. Layla, who had planned to leave directly from Zaid's the next morning, finally remembered her own place, the home she shared with Kieran. Going back there to pack, she noticed a gift in the living room that still hadn't been opened. She finally unwrapped it, but when she saw what was inside, her face filled with displeasure. Divorce papers and a finalized divorce certificate. What a wonderful birthday gift. Tossing them aside, Layla went into the bedroom to pack her clothes, only then realizing that everything belonging to Kieran was gone. The wardrobe was half empty, the photo from the nightstand was gone, and even his toiletries were missing from the bathroom. She remembered seeing Kieran packing things earlier, her questions, and his casual, dismissive answers. The displeasure she'd felt seeing the divorce papers intensified. Kieran, you really did it, she thought bitterly. Just because I spent a little more time with Zaid, you leave me this easily? Was that hopeless lion love act all fake? Or are you just as hypocritical as Zaid always said? Was your love really that shallow? For some reason, though, even as anger flared, confirming that Kieran had left and wasn't planning on coming back sent a strange pang through Layla's heart, leaving her feeling breathless. I've always loved Zaid. Kieran was just a backup, Layla repeated to herself, trying to suppress the strange feeling, trying to brainwash herself. Depressed, Layla drank quite a bit during dinner. Later, with a little encouragement from Zaid, she fell into bed with him. Looking at Zaid sleeping soundly beside her, holding her, she thought about how she had finally gotten her childhood crush, her moonlight, yet her heart felt strangely empty. Kieran's face kept flashing in her mind. The next day, Zaid got the plane tickets to Yunnan. Layla, he asked casually, what made you think of Yunnan for our first stop? Staring at the Yunnan tickets in her hand, Layla couldn't help but remember how Kieran had always pestered her about wanting to travel there. She realized she'd never once agreed. They'd been married all this time and hadn't even had a honeymoon. When she decided to take Zaid on this trip, she bought the tickets to Yunnan on impulse, almost without thinking. Seeing Layla staring blankly at the tickets beside him, Zaid gently nudged her arm. What's wrong? You've seemed really distracted lately, always zoning out. Snapping back, Layla looked at Zaid beside her and forced a light smile. Nothing, just wondering if I missed anything planning our itinerary for the trip. Even as she answered Zaid, she found herself subconsciously comparing him to Kieran. Zaid, always meticulously put together, versus Kieran, who was often barefaced, but whose fair, clear skin looked good no matter what. Well, since you were thinking about me, Zaid teased, I'll forgive you. On a bright, beautiful day, Layla and Zaid set foot in Yunnan, a land brimming with mystique and wonder. Zaid, full of excitement for the unfamiliar landscapes, was like a free bird, darting eagerly through the mountains and waters of Yunnan. Layla played the part of the dutiful companion by his side, but her mind kept wandering, lost in thoughts she couldn't quite grasp. The cobblestone street still glistened with morning dew. Alice held Kieran's wool shawl, leaning down to adjust the crooked silver bracelet on his wrist. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass exploded behind her. Kieran, the familiar scent of cedar mixed with spilled plum wine wafted towards him. Layla still had her arm linked through Zaid's. Turning at the sound, Kieran saw Layla and Zaid strolling arm in arm down the street. The hurts he thought were faded suddenly felt as sharp as if they'd happened yesterday, searing his heart. The phantom pain from his car accident flared up, healed scars felt like they were being ripped open again. Kieran stared at the new platinum couple's ring on her ring finger, suddenly remembering how during their years of marriage, Layla had never even worn a wedding band. It wasn't that she didn't like wearing rings, just not with him. She wasn't too busy to travel. She just didn't have time to travel with him. Fighting the urge to flee, Kieran forced himself to sound casual as he addressed the couple. Can I help you? Alice's hand silently rested on his trembling shoulder. The gesture made Layla's eyes narrow. Haven't seen you in a month, and already finding yourself a lover in this old town? Not even going to greet an old friend. Layla deliberately stepped closer with Zaid, using the word lover intentionally to insult Alice and belittle Kieran. Lover? I don't think that's quite the right word. Alice chuckled softly, her fingertips tracing the red string tied around Kieran's wrist, a knot for peace she painstakingly braided last night from 18 herbal sachets. After all, you're divorced, aren't you? The moment Alice saw Layla, she remembered the files her assistant had sent. Every detail infuriated her. She wanted to march right up to Layla and punch her. Who in their right mind would abandon their husband, leaving him vulnerable, to chase after some idealized one that got away? Alice hadn't had the right to interfere before, but now they were divorced. Who did Layla think she was, acting all high and mighty now? Kieran looked up at the couple standing before him, appearing so affectionate. The woman who once claimed shopping was too tiring was now willingly strolling alongside Zaid. I wasn't aware of any divorce. It doesn't count, Layla announced. Hearing another woman mention her divorce made her flush with anger and embarrassment. Move on quickly. Kieran found your rebound already? Aren't you going to introduce us? Zaid, silent until now, felt a pang of discomfort seeing the woman beside Kieran, whose presence was no less striking than Layla's. Just a loser I already beat, he thought. What right does he have? Are we close? Kieran, having regained his composure, had no desire for further conversation with these two unpleasant people. The divorce papers are signed, black and white. The Civil Affairs Bureau seal is on it. It's not something you can just declare doesn't count. Use your brain. Done putting up with her, Kieran wasn't about to swallow his anger anymore. Hadn't he endured enough by her side? Why should he listen to her nonsense even after the divorce? You've completely ruined my mood. What bad luck. Hearing Kieran's blunt words, Layla froze. Kieran, how could you become like this? So rude, so vulgar. I didn't quite believe what Zaid told me about you before, but seeing you like this now, you really must have bullied him back then. I bullied him. Kieran found it laughable and let out a chuckle. That's hilarious. Zaid, did I bully you? Zaid flushed, cornered and afraid of a direct confrontation. After all, he'd made it all up. He turned to Layla pleadingly. Layla, let's go. Kieran doesn't seem to want us here. Turning back to Alice before leaving, Zaid couldn't resist taking a parting shot, trying to make Kieran look bad while feigning concern. Miss, Kieran's temper isn't the best. You'll have to be patient with him, please. He acted as if he were being mistreated, yet still looking out for his friend. Zaid, you're just too kind, Layla murmured, her heart aching slightly as she saw Zaid looking so wronged yet still trying to smooth things over for Kieran. Honey, do you smell that? Alice ignored Zaid completely, speaking only to Kieran. Smells strongly of fake sweetness, doesn't it? Yeah, it's overpowering. Let's go. Kieran knew Alice was defending him and played along. You, Zaid sputtered, furious. He was used to lording it over Kieran. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Layla watched their retreating figures walking away together, her expression darkening. She said nothing, failing to notice the flash of malice in Zaid's eyes. Didn't Kieran love me desperately? How could he have moved on so quickly? How is that possible? Once they were a safe distance away, Kieran quickly removed his arm from around Alice's waist. Hey, thanks for that back there, he said a little awkwardly. Seeing his reaction, Alice felt a pang of disappointment. She knew she still had a ways to go. Don't mention it. But running into Layla made Alice suddenly abandon her slow burn approach. She wanted a real reason, a legitimate place by Kieran's side. Kieran wasn't an idiot. He'd clearly sensed Alice's feelings for him over the time they'd been spending together. After all, people don't go out of their way for someone without a reason. He'd considered turning her down directly earlier, but she always kept things light, skillfully dodging anything explicit. Now, after all this time together, he couldn't bring himself to reject her so easily. It wasn't that he felt nothing for her, but things felt like they were moving too fast. He wanted to take it slow, which was why he'd allowed Alice to gradually work her way into his life. But he just wasn't ready yet, so he cut her off. Hey, let's go get something to eat, okay? I'm starving after all that walking. Alice felt a pang of hurt at his deliberate interruption, but she wasn't one to drag things out. Since she'd decided to be direct, she would see it through. Besides, She felt she'd already lost too many years when it came to Kieran. She didn't want to wait any longer. She wanted to be with him. Kieran, I like you. Hearing Alice's confession, Kieran froze, standing silent for a long moment. Seeing his silence, Alice continued. I fell for you at first sight back at the freshman welcome party. I wanted to get to know you then, but I was in the middle of taking over the family business and was completely swamped. By the time I had things under control, I saw you already had someone with you. I figured college relationships never lasted, so I waited. I kept waiting for you two to break up, but then you proposed, and the love in your eyes. It was so intense, it made me retreat. I decided to let it go, telling myself that your happiness was all that mattered. So after you got married, I stopped keeping tabs on your life. But this time, you reappeared in my life. When I heard you were divorced, I was ecstatic. That's why I've been so persistent lately, pretending I didn't pick up on your signals to back off, just trying to be there for you. Originally, I thought I'd be content just being near you, even as only a friend, as long as I was in your world. But people are greedy, aren't they? Now I want more. I don't just want to be your friend. I want a real place in your life, a place with you. Kieran, I like you. I love you. Alice wasn't being entirely truthful. She'd never intended to settle for just being friends, even when she learned Kieran was married. She hadn't given up. She had started scheming long ago about how to break them up. If she hadn't been recovering from her recent car accident, she would have driven them apart much sooner. Now Zaid's appearance had triggered the divorce. It felt like fate itself was lending her a hand. She knew she was taking advantage of his vulnerability, but frankly, she didn't care. Kieran's prolonged silence made her anxious. If he says no, Alice thought darkly, I could just lock him away somewhere, so he can only see me. I had no idea. I didn't realize you'd like me for that long. Kieran sounded stunned by her confession, but also deeply moved. To think that all the time he'd been chasing Layla, someone else had been quietly watching him. Hearing the catch in Kieran's voice, Alice felt her heart ache for him and pulled him into a hug. Instantly, all her dark thoughts melted away. Forget it, she thought. As long as he's happy, that's enough. I can be patient. I admit, Kieran said, his voice still thick. I do have feelings for you, but I just went through a really messy divorce. I'm hesitant, maybe even a little scared about jumping into something new right away. Can you understand that? Hearing Kieran admit he had feelings for her filled Alice with silent ecstasy. She conveniently ignored the hesitant part. If he felt something for her, she knew she could nurture that spark into a flame. It's okay, she murmured. As long as you feel something, just stay put, don't pull away. Just let me come to you. As Alice enveloped his cool fingers with her feverishly warm palm, Kieran felt something immense shift deep within his chest, like the sharp crack of ice breaking apart. Just then, Kieran's phone buzzed insistently, the screen lighting up with a string of missed calls from an unknown number. He reached over and held the power button down, watching the small notification light blink out, swallowed by the soft moonlight that seemed to emanate from Alice herself. Layla felt a sharp sting, realizing she hadn't been important to Kieran. That resentment festered all the way back to her place. Lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about running into Kieran earlier. He seemed so different from when they were together. She hated to admit it, but Kieran seemed better now, happier, more vibrant, radiating a kind of sunny confidence that drew people's eyes. Definitely better than when he'd been with her. Thinking about borrowing a stranger's phone earlier to make a dozen calls, none of which connected, only added to her frustration. Kieran, his name echoed in her mind all night. Even when she was with Zaid, her thoughts drifted to Kieran and the woman he was with. Zaid, too, was thinking about the woman with Kieran. There was an air about her, something refined, not ordinary. Compared to Layla, she might even have the upper hand. He silently fumed. How dare someone he considered beneath him end up with someone seemingly superior to Layla? Lost in their separate preoccupations, neither noticed the other's half-hearted presence. Meanwhile, the air between Kieran and Alice fizzed with mutual affection. Kieran was a little shy, but Alice was endearingly forceful, coaxing him out whenever he tried to retreat into his shell. It wasn't until Kieran got back to his place that it hit him. He hadn't told Alice he was divorced. How did she know? Believing it was better to communicate directly than to stew in assumptions, Kieran called Alice right away. Kieran, what's up? Alice sounded happy to hear from him. I never told you I was divorced, Kieran said, getting straight to the point. How did you find out? Alice, who had hoped the subject wouldn't come up, felt a flush of guilt. Kieran, hang tight. I'm coming over. While waiting, Kieran didn't just sit around. He quickly tidied up the room. Early days, after all, appearances mattered. He didn't have to wait long before hearing a knock at the door. He opened it, let Alice in, and waited for her explanation. I'm sorry, Kieran, Alice began. The first day I met you, seeing you here all alone, I was worried about you, so I asked around, and someone mentioned you were divorced. She looked up at Kieran pleadingly. Please don't be mad, okay? She tried out a cute, pouty expression she just learned online, hoping it would work. I'm not blaming you, Kieran said, finding her attempt adorable rather than annoying. He hadn't really been angry anyway. It just occurred to me, I just got divorced and you. I know you just got divorced. Alice interrupted quickly, sensing where he was going. She hated seeing Kieran put himself down. To her, he was the best. Maybe I took advantage of the situation, but I just like you so much. When it comes to love, I don't have anything and I don't know anything. I know I might not be the first person to arrive at the station of your heart, but you're my one and only. You're the most important person in my life. Whatever kind of life you lead, I want to live it with you. Wherever you go, I want to be by your side. Even if you looked me in the eye and said, I don't love you anymore, I don't want you, it wouldn't be enough to keep us apart. Hearing Alice declare her feelings so openly again, Kieran was struck anew by the sheer force of her affection for him. It was hard to remain unmoved in the face of such raw, sincere emotion. So instead of dwelling on her prying, Kieran gently pulled her into an embrace, letting the hug convey his own feelings. During that long, sleepless night, the sheep she counted in her memory suddenly all took on Kieran's face. When Alice woke up, remembering how she and Kieran had confessed their feelings for each other the day before, a wide smile spread across her face. She couldn't wait to get out of bed and see Kieran. But when she opened her door, she found Kieran standing right there, holding a bouquet of gardenias. Gardenias symbolize eternal love and lifelong devotion. The scent of gardenia hit her the moment she opened the door, but in Alice's eyes, even the most beautiful blossoms couldn't compare to the smile on Kieran's face. Alice, good morning, Kieran began. I thought about it all night. I might not be able to immediately match the intensity of your feelings, but since I've decided to be with you, I'll put my whole heart into this, and I'll try my best to make you feel the same depth of love for me. I hope that from now on, we can hold hands and spend the rest of our lives together. Kieran, who had been rehearsing this all morning, blurted out everything he'd planned to say the moment Alice opened the door. After speaking, he lowered his head shyly, waiting for her response. When he didn't hear anything for a moment, he looked up at Alice. He saw that her usually calm and composed face was flushed, her eyes red, as if she were about to cry. Kieran started, wanting to comfort her, but suddenly found himself at a loss for words. Before Kieran could figure out what to say, Alice threw her arms around his waist and said, her voice muffled against him, Thank you for the flowers. What am I going to do? I think I like you even more today than I did yesterday. Seeing Kieran standing there first thing in the morning, holding flowers, felt surreal to Alice. Only holding him tight lessened that feeling of unreality. Kieran had finished his travels and decided to stay with Alice while she recuperated there. By the time they returned to Jingbei, it was winter and a heavy snow had fallen. Jingbei, an ancient and bustling city, had already carried a chill in the air before the snow arrived. The sky looked as if it were slowly being covered by a vast gray curtain, overcast, oppressive, and silent. Trees lining the streets shivered in the cold wind, their bare branches stark against the dim sky. Occasionally, a few stray leaves were swept up by the wind, twirling weakly in the air before drifting back down. The moment Kieran stepped out of the airport, the cold north wind hit him, raising goosebumps on his skin. Thankfully, they were only exposed to the wind and snow for that short walk from the plane. Kieran actually quite liked snow. Having grown up in the South, he still remembered the excitement he felt seeing the heavy snowfall during his first year of university in Jingbei. The whole world seemed to fall silent, leaving only the soft rustling sound of falling snowflakes. The snowflakes, each unique, intertwined as they fell, creating a dreamlike white curtain in the air. They blanketed the ground in thick white softness, coated tree branches in sparkling silver like jade trees, and settled on rooftops, making the old buildings look even more solemn and dignified, as if stepping back in time. Pedestrians hurried along, bundled tightly in their winter coats, seemingly trying to escape the bitter cold brought by the snow. Only the Southerners, unaccustomed to snow, played joyfully in it, and Kieran was one of them. After Kieran came into their lives, things changed between Layla and Zaid. Layla stopped indulging Zaid like she used to. It started after that party where Zaid threw a fit, demanding she comfort him, and she blurted out, "Can't you stop being so childish? Why can't you be more considerate like Kieran?" It was like flipping some strange switch. Zaid, whose liveliness she once found charming, now seemed to constantly irritate her. She couldn't help but compare him to Kieran. When she traveled for work, Kieran would pack toiletries and snacks for her, always asking if she was tired. Zaid, on the other hand, never helped her pack and only asked her to bring back piles of designer shoes, treating her like his personal shopper. Back then, no matter how late she came home, Kieran would wait up for her. Zaid never did. He'd even tell her to keep it down so she wouldn't disturb his rest. It felt like all these frustrations surfaced after Kieran had left. Layla no longer found Zaid's little moods charming. Now she just saw him as selfish, constantly throwing tantrums and making her do things she disliked. Zaid, noticing Layla treated him differently, couldn't maintain his air of indifference. He constantly compared her to her former self, feeling she didn't love him anymore. He hadn't cherished what he'd had, and the conflict between them grew deeper. Around this time, a woman named Nayla started pursuing Zaid again, conveniently filling the void of attention and excitement left by Layla. But Nayla couldn't provide the comfortable lifestyle Zaid wanted, so they merely met in secret, carrying on an affair behind Layla's back. Layla's attention had already drifted from Zaid, so she didn't notice anything amiss. She only noticed that he seemed to be picking fewer fights and figured he was finally starting to behave. And when she heard Kieran was back, her mind was even further from Zaid. Hearing Kieran was back reminded Zaid of the humiliation he'd suffered at Kieran's hands in Legion. Adding insult to injury, Layla constantly compared him to Kieran. He used to adore her, and Kieran used to adore her, his admirer and his admirer's admirer, yet now they treated him this way. Now that Kieran was back, Zaid felt he had to make him pay. So Zaid casually mentioned to their old college class president, always eager to please, that he felt like getting together with classmates. The president promptly organized a reunion. Kieran hadn't wanted to attend. He had no desire whatsoever to interact with Zaid again, but the class president persistently urged him to come, and feeling unable to refuse, Kieran went. When Kieran arrived, the party was already quite full, but he didn't see Zaid anywhere. Kieran was heading toward some friends he recognized when the class president spotted him and called out, "Kieran, hey, I heard you and Layla got divorced. Is that true?" The buzzing room instantly fell silent. "Yeah, we are," Kieran replied matter-of-factly, figuring he might as well get it out in the open now and save hassle later. "Why? Layla's amazing. How could you let her go?" the president pressed. "We just grew apart," Kieran said curtly, not wanting to elaborate. "I heard Layla's with Zaid now. Was it because of him?" Someone else murmured, clearly having heard the rumors. "Come on." The president jumped back in, steering the conversation. If Zaid had actually wanted to be with Layla back in the day, would Kieran have even figured in? Exactly. Everyone saw how devoted Layla was to Zaid. Kieran couldn't hold a candle to that. Yeah, if Zaid hadn't practically pushed them together, Kieran never would have had the chance to marry Layla in the first place. Come to think of it, Kieran really owes Zaid for that. The crowd started chiming in, reminiscing about how Layla used to spoil Zaid, apparently oblivious to how inappropriate it was for a married woman to act that way towards her childhood friend and completely disregarding Kieran's presence or feelings as her now ex-husband. They all started listing ways Kieran didn't measure up to Zaid. They ignored the obvious hurt these comments inflicted on Kieran. A few people who felt it was wrong glanced at Kieran's strained expression and quietly tried to shush the others, but their voices were lost in the general discussion. The class president, noticing Kieran's pained expression, just grinned and said, "Ah, Kieran, you're not getting upset, are you? We're not making anything up, it's all true. Don't be so sensitive, Kieran." The class reunion had somehow devolved into a public takedown targeting Kieran. Kieran would have to be an idiot not to see the real purpose behind this reunion. Just as he was about to get up and leave, Zaid walked in, interrupting him. Zaid greeted everyone with a smile. "Sorry I'm late, everyone. It's Layla's fault. She was worried I'd be cold and insisted I wear an extra layer." Layla's still so good to you," someone remarked. "We were just talking about the three of you. You, her, and Kieran." "Kieran, you're here too? I was afraid you were still mad at me and wouldn't show up." "Why would he be mad at you?" the class president asked, playing along. "It's all because of Layla, isn't it?" Zaid sighed dramatically. "When I came back, she treated me just like before. Kieran got jealous and insisted on a divorce, blaming everything on me. I feel terrible for Kieran, really, but what can you do if Layla loves me and not him? They were together for so long, married for years, and she never loved him. Poor Kieran." Murmurs rippled through the room. "If this was your goal," Kieran said calmly, "then I'm sorry to disappoint you. Layla is just my ex-wife now, a stranger I happen to know." "Kieran, why would you say that? I just wanted to smooth things over between us." Zaid trailed off, his eyes welling up with tears. Before he could finish, Kieran found the sight of Zaid crying almost comical, and he let out a chuckle. Everyone stared, shifting their gaze between the crying man and the laughing one. They quickly rushed to comfort the weeping Zaid, ignoring Kieran completely. Kieran looked at his classmates, people he thought he knew, and felt a wave of alienation. Were they really this easily manipulated? Without offering any further explanation, he stood up and walked towards the exit. "Kieran." As Kieran waited by the door for Alice, Zaid caught up to him. Leaning close, Zaid whispered menacingly, "Kieran, I'll ruin your reputation among our alumni." Seeing their classmates approaching from behind, Zaid suddenly stumbled backward as if pushed, tumbling dramatically down the steps. "Zaid." The classmates rushed over. Seeing Zaid on the ground, apparently shoved by Kieran, they glared furiously at Kieran and began shouting accusations. Just then, Layla rode up to pick up Zaid. Seeing Kieran surrounded by the angry mob and Zaid being helped up, she didn't bother asking what happened and immediately turned on Kieran. "Kieran, why are you always picking on Zaid? Apologize. If your eyes aren't working, you can donate them. The security cameras aren't just for decoration." Kieran retorted sarcastically, looking directly at her. Layla flinched at his sharp tone, but years of ingrained habit made her instinctively shield Zaid behind her. "Kieran, you can't take your anger out on Zaid just because I don't love you. Stop bullying him. You really think too highly of yourself, don't you?" Kieran scoffed. He found Layla's self-righteous act laughable. Her idea of doing what was best always seemed to involve sacrificing his interests to protect Zaid. At that moment, Alice arrived to pick up Kieran. Seeing him cornered, looking utterly alone amidst the hostile crowd, she felt a surge of fury. She strode forward, grabbed Kieran's arm, and pulled him protectively behind her. Facing the group, Alice stated coolly, "It seems the Layla group has too much time on its hands lately." She then added, her voice sharp, "From now on, I don't want to see any of these individuals involved with any Alice family businesses." Her assistant, who had discreetly arrived with the security footage, nodded at Alice's command and immediately left to carry out her instructions. Without waiting for any reaction from the stunned onlookers, Alice led Kieran away. Collision: the consequences of malice. Watching Kieran leave with such a powerful woman, and then noticing security guards approaching to clear the area, the classmates finally understood they had provoked someone they couldn't afford to cross. Watching the surveillance footage playing on loop on the assistant's large screen, which clearly showed Zaid starting the trouble, they all felt immense regret, not for anything they themselves had done, but purely because their own interests had been negatively affected. Some employees working for Alice's family businesses quickly received termination emails. Furious, they wanted to confront Zaid, but seeing Layla defending him, another person they couldn't afford to cross, they could only accept their bad luck. It was a classic case of when elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. Other classmates who worked for companies partnered with the Sioux Corporation heard about the incident and were fired outright, likely because their employers feared repercussions. After leaving, everyone took to their social media accounts to discuss how Zaid had shot himself in the foot that day. His reputation was essentially ruined. People had already criticized him for confessing his feelings right after Layla's divorce. But since Layla had been the one pursuing him, many defended Zaid, claiming he was just caught in a crossfire. But this latest incident completely flipped the script. A minor influencer posted about it online, sparking a wave of discussion, with everyone piling on. Now that he was down, no one defended him anymore. They all accused him, saying it takes two to tango, and that he knowingly pursued a married woman. Seeing these comments, Zaid flew into a rage and trashed his apartment. Meanwhile, Layla was swamped. Business partners with existing contracts started stalling, holding back funds and deliveries, evasively citing that she had offended the wrong people. Those whose contracts were expiring and planned to renew simply switched to her competitors. Layla became so busy she practically started living at the office. Zaid couldn't get in touch with Layla. Meanwhile, Layla was constantly checking in on him, offering comfort. Already frustrated, Zaid let Layla console him, and fueled by alcohol, they ended up sleeping together. Afterwards, Zaid rationalized that even though Layla had been neglecting him lately, it was probably just because she was incredibly busy and still adjusting to Kieran being gone. He believed she was still the same childhood friend who always tolerated his behavior. This belief made him even more brazen in his affair with Layla. They frequently went to movies, traveled together, and he even brought Layla back to his place, all while charging everything to Layla's supplementary credit card. Layla, buried in work trying to save her company, saw the constant notifications for his spending on her phone and grew furious. It was bad enough that Zaid showed no concern for her, but now with the company facing a crisis, he was still carrying on with his unrestrained lifestyle. So, despite her crushing workload, she carved out time to go to Zaid's apartment. The moment she opened the door, she saw clothes scattered everywhere and heard moans coming from the bedroom. In disbelief, Layla walked to the bedroom and pushed open the door to find Zaid and Layla naked and still entangled. Seeing Layla, Zaid shrieked and scrambled for the covers. His panic seemed to affect Layla physically, and suddenly he found himself stuck inside her, unable to withdraw. Witnessing this scene, Layla was overcome by shock and rage and fainted on the spot. 2 ambulances arrived, one for Layla and the other for Zaid and Layla. The pair, still unable to separate and thus unable to dress, had to be wrapped in sheets by the paramedics before being taken to the ambulance. Being caught cheating is one thing, but being caught stuck together is quite another. All eyes were inevitably drawn to them, and inevitably someone filmed the spectacle and uploaded the video online. The video instantly went viral, exploding online. Netizens turned into meme lords overnight, relentlessly mocking the situation. People who knew them surfaced, providing context for the curious online onlookers. Even the earlier, less widespread story about the childhood sweethearts crossing boundaries and Zaid being the homewrecker was dragged back into the light, along with videos from Layla's birthday party. It turned out the man literally caught in the act was the same person accused of being the other man before, stealing his roommate's wife no less, and now cheating on her, only to be caught by his childhood friend. Suddenly, people didn't know whether to laugh at the childhood friend, thinking she got what she deserved, or pity her for being such a fool. The 3 in the hospital remained oblivious to the online feeding frenzy for the time being. Broken Heart, the final confrontation. Upon waking, Layla immediately canceled Zaid's supplementary card, cut off all financial aid to his family, and ordered him to move out of the spacious apartment she had been renting for him. She had her assistant handle all these arrangements, unwilling even to see Zaid in person. Zaid's family could no longer sustain their luxurious lifestyle due to his father's poor business decisions, which was why Zaid had returned from abroad in the first place, to drive Kieran away from Layla and secure his hold on her wealth. Now that Layla was abandoning him, his family, stripped of her financial backing, was essentially facing bankruptcy. Seeing Zaid kicked out and relegated to a tiny apartment, Layla left him that very night. She had only targeted him because he seemed like a reliable meal ticket. Now that the money tree was barren, why stick around? Left with nothing, Zaid desperately tried every possible way to get back to Layla, but her bodyguards blocked his every attempt to get near her. Life had become even more difficult for Layla recently. Alice's family launched an all-out attack on Layla's company. Layla was just a newcomer to the industry, completely unable to withstand the pressure from the established family. Compounded by her fury over Zaid's betrayal, Layla made several impulsive, disastrous decisions, pushing her already struggling company closer to the brink. There was no room left to maneuver. When she realized bankruptcy was inevitable, set in stone, Layla, whose health had already landed her in the emergency room recently, couldn't take the stress anymore. She collapsed in her office, coughing up blood from sheer anger, and was rushed back to the ER. By the time she was released, her company had declared bankruptcy and was undergoing liquidation. Her bank accounts, house, and car, everything under her name, were frozen. With nowhere to go, Layla thought of Kieran. Kieran had been so good to her before, but she hadn't cherished him. Instead, she'd thrown herself at Zaid the moment he crooked his finger, leading to her current predicament. Unable to vent her frustration and unwilling to admit this was all her own fault, a result of her greed and indecisiveness. Always wanting more than she had, Layla chose to blame everything on Zaid. She decided to confront him. Zaid, meanwhile, feeling cornered by Layla, had tried reaching out to old flames, but he could only connect with a few minor ones who weren't in the know. And what little he gained from them wasn't nearly enough to maintain his former lifestyle. Seeing Layla approach him, he initially thought they might get back together, but he quickly realized she was only there to blame him for her bankruptcy. They immediately started tearing into each other. "You're a failure, and you're blaming me?" Zaid sneered. "Did I force you to chase after me like a lapdog? I chased you because you kept leading me on, constantly signaling you were interested." Layla shot back. "If it weren't for you, Kieran and I would still be together. You came running the second I paid you any attention. Is it only my fault?" Zaid retorted. "You ignored Kieran when he was hospitalized after his car accident just to hang out with me. Was I holding a gun to your head? You abandoned Kieran on the highway in a storm when he was sick with stomach pain. Did I tell you to do that?" Hearing Zaid recount her callous treatment of Kieran from an outsider's perspective, Layla finally understood just how terribly she had acted. She had wronged Kieran. She had hurt him. It was all her own fault. She couldn't blame anyone else. "Zaid," she asked, watching his relentless tirade, a question that even she found absurd forming on her lips. "Don't you feel even a shred of guilt or regret for how things turned out?" "Guilt? Regret?" Zaid scoffed. "Why should I feel guilty or regretful, Layla? We've known each other since we were kids. Don't you know what kind of person I am? You believed everything I said. Don't you know how much of it was lies? My words just echoed what you were already thinking. You used my mouth to voice your desires, then pretended you were doing it all for me. Weren't you just looking out for yourself the whole time?" Zaid's words left Layla speechless. She turned and walked away. Her spirit was utterly crushed, but she still wanted to see Kieran one last time, just to tell him she was sorry. But when Layla went looking for Kieran, she found herself completely shut out by the bodyguards Alice had hired. The boomerangs she had thrown in the past had come back and hit her square between the eyes. Finally, catching a bodyguard off guard, she managed to slip into the parking garage and intercepted Kieran as he appeared. Kieran looked at the person blocking his path. It took him a long moment to recognize her. Seeing Layla disheveled, a shadow of her former self, stirred no emotion in him whatsoever. He frowned at her. "What are you doing here?" Seeing Kieran truly unmoved by her presence sent a pang through Layla's heart. Grief washed over her. Her eyes reddened and her voice choked. "Kieran, I came to apologize. When we were together," she continued, tears welling up, "I neglected you and you suffered so much because of it. Every time I lied about being away on business, I felt terrible, so I had my assistants send you all kinds of gifts, hoping they could somehow make up for my indifference. I was so busy chasing Zaid, I never looked back at you, even though the love in your eyes was so intense. I wronged you. If there's any way, let me make it up to you. Please come back to me. I'll love you with everything I have. I'll work hard. I'll rebuild my life, and I will love only you." Looking at Layla's remorseful, heartfelt confession, Kieran felt nothing but disgust. If she weren't down on her luck now, if Zaid hadn't betrayed her, if she hadn't lost everything, she wouldn't be acting like this. She just wanted someone to love her unconditionally, but she was incapable of loving anyone back the same way. Did she ever truly love Zaid? Perhaps, but it was more of an obsession with something she couldn't have. That's why not long after she finally got together with Zaid, her thoughts started drifting back to Kieran. Once she had Zaid, He wasn't special anymore. The obsession lost its value. Realizing this, the last weight lifted off Kieran's shoulders. It was their own lack of judgment, their inability to appreciate genuine affection, that led them here. He didn't need to waste any more energy on them. "You're just a genuinely awful person," Kieran said. With that, he got in his car and drove away. Ring a new beginning. Meanwhile, Alice listened to her bodyguard's report, smiling as she twirled a pen in her hand. She knew her moment had arrived. Layla thought the bodyguards had merely been lax, but it was all Alice's arrangement. Kieran needed to see Layla one last time to truly let go of the past. The current mess Layla and Zaid were in was entirely her doing. She simply couldn't stand them buzzing around Kieran like annoying flies anymore. They weren't a real threat, just irritating. Zaid's recently connected with some low-level gangster. He plans to hire someone to tamper with Mr. Kieran's car. TSK, such persistent flies, Alice muttered. Contact their boss. It's been a while, let's have dinner. Ask him if his industrial park needs more workers. Yes, ma'am. Layla's usefulness has run out. Deal with her, too. Yes, ma'am. Alice, I'm here to pick you up. Hearing Kieran's voice, Alice motioned for her assistant to leave and stood up to greet him. She hugged him, feeling the exhaustion from her workday melt away. I wish I could keep you tied to my side so I could see you every second, she complained playfully. You're always so busy with that studio. How long has it been since we went on a proper date? Hearing the fondness beneath her complaint, Kieran felt a little sheepish. He knew he'd been preoccupied with his new studio lately and had neglected her somewhat. Well, I'm here to pick you up now, aren't I? No work talk today. Just us, all right. All right then, you're forgiven, Alice smiled. Since it's the weekend tomorrow, come meet my family. They're really eager to meet you. Kieran hesitated, feeling unprepared. Don't worry, Alice reassured him. They just want to meet you. I've been single for so many years, my family thought I'd end up alone forever. Now that I finally have a boyfriend, they're naturally curious about you. Alice's calming words eased Kieran's anxiety considerably. Okay, after dinner, maybe you can help me pick out some gifts to bring to your family tomorrow. The next day, Kieran got ready and went with Alice to the Sue family estate. As the car drew closer to the imposing gates, Kieran couldn't help feeling nervous. Even though he'd been married before, this felt completely different. Alice, he said quietly, I've been divorced. What if they don't like me? Alice squeezed his hand. Don't worry. I've told them about you, and honestly, they just feel bad that you had such bad luck with your previous relationship. My family is very easygoing. You have nothing to worry about. Hearing Alice's reassurances, Kieran's heart gradually settled. As soon as they got out of the car at Alice's house, Kieran saw two elegantly dressed middle-aged people standing by the door. Both were smiling warmly at him. Kieran let out a nervous breath. Noticing his tension, Alice gently squeezed his hand. Mom, Dad, this is Kieran. Kieran, these are my parents. It's nice to meet you both, Kieran said. I wasn't sure what you might like, but I brought these small gifts for you. I hope you like them. Kieran, Alice talks about you so often. Alice's mother said, beaming. You didn't need to bring gifts. Just having you here is wonderful. Grandma and Grandpa are waiting in the living room. They wanted to come out too, but given their age, I asked them to wait inside. Please don't mind. She took Kieran's hand and led him into the living room. Mom, Dad, Alice said to the elders. This is Kieran, the boyfriend I'm always telling you about. The elderly couple also welcomed Kieran warmly. Kieran spent a pleasant afternoon with Alice and her family. As Kieran was leaving, Alice's mother handed him a gift bag. This is just a little something from the family, she said. A gift from elders shouldn't be refused, so Kieran accepted it without protest. On the way back, sitting in the back seat with Alice, Kieran opened the gift bag. Inside was an antique-looking jewelry box. He opened it to find a stunning imperial green jade necklace with excellent translucency. This is too much, Kieran murmured. Seeing the quality of the necklace, he knew it must be incredibly expensive. It's a Sioux family heirloom, passed down to our sons-in-law, Alice explained. See? I told you my family really likes you. I can't accept this right now, Kieran said, starting to put the necklace back in the box to give to Alice. It'll be yours sooner or later, Alice stopped him. Unless you don't plan on making things official between us. She took the necklace out and put it around Kieran's neck. The green jade complemented Kieran's fair skin perfectly. It looks perfect on you, Alice said. Go on, see what else is in there. Kieran didn't protest further and looked at the other items. A black credit card, the deed transfer for an office building downtown, and the deed transfer for an amusement park. Looking at the increasingly valuable gifts, Kieran felt a wave of happiness. The Sue family genuinely liked him. It wasn't just politeness. He was overjoyed. On a seemingly ordinary evening, Alice led Kieran into a luxurious and stylish restaurant. Inside, the lighting was soft and warm, like scattered starlight touching every corner. Exquisite paintings adorned the walls, and gentle classical music drifted through the air, lending the space an air of elegance and tranquility. The tables were set with fine dinnerware, the crisp white tablecloths gleaming under the lights. A bouquet of luscious red roses sat in the center of their table, releasing a subtle fragrance. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting a brilliant glow on the diners and making the room feel like a dreamscape. After they were seated, waiters brought out a succession of delicious dishes. Alice gently served Kieran some food while talking tenderly with him, reminiscing about their time together since they first met. The beautiful moments replayed like scenes from a movie in their minds. Just as Kieran was lost in these sweet memories, the restaurant's music suddenly changed to his favorite love song. Then the lights dimmed, and a soft spotlight focused on Alice. Alice slowly stood up, walked over to Kieran, and took out a small, elegant velvet box. She opened it, revealing a dazzling diamond ring. Gazing deeply into Kieran's eyes, Alice said, "Kieran, from the moment we met, I knew you were the one I'd been searching for my whole life. Everything about you captivates me. Every day with you brings me immense happiness and fulfillment. I want to walk through every stage of life with you, sharing all the joys and sorrows. Will you marry me and let me rely on you forever?" At that moment, the other diners paused, turning their attention to the couple. Some began to applaud, offering their blessings. Tears welled up in Kieran's eyes. Overcome with emotion, he covered his mouth with trembling hands, his eyes shining with happiness, and nodded repeatedly. "Yes, I will." Overjoyed, Alice gently slid the ring onto Kieran's ring finger. She then pulled him into a tight embrace, whispering in his ear, "I love you, and I always will." The surrounding diners erupted in enthusiastic applause and cheers, witnessing this declaration of love. Outside, the sound of fireworks filled the air. Sweet smiles lit up their faces as they held each other tightly, bathed in the blessings of the crowd and the glow of the grand fireworks display. Their love story reached a perfect milestone on this romantic night, simultaneously opening a new chapter in their lives together.